Hey guys, today's video is on hard gel, consistency, how to work it, how to use it, how to overlay it, all the stuff you need to know to do amazing hard gel right now.
Good morning. We're going to be covering gel today, and I want to be going over basically fundamentals so that you guys have a really good understanding how to pick it up, how to set it down, how to build the free edge, how to apply the body. I'll be working with both a tub, a jar, as well as a tube so that you guys will be able to see the difference. Does the Synergy Gel Kit come with forms? It does. Let's go ahead and begin. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the process before we actually get into anything. I wanna be able to show you guys how to set up your hand. So if you guys have a Young Nails nail trainer, then you can take the plastic tips, and they have these thick cuticles on the back end. What you want to be able to do is you want to be able to just clip that off just like this with a toenail clipper. What I like to do is I like to come around and just file it smooth, and then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to press it down multiple, probably like 2 or 3 times, and you're going to notice that you're going to have a really, really nice smooth cuticle area on the back. Okay, now since we're going to be working on consistency, I want to be able to focus on an overlay. That's one of the things we focus on at our 1-week course. So many of our students have come through the program. They get to practice this on a regular basis. So the first thing before we actually get into the overlays, we're going to do prep. I'm actually going to put my arbor band on my mandrel. This is a used one. What I like to do is I like to take this off. Now there's 2 ways. If you obviously have the strength, you can slide it up. I usually like to take a brush. I put it on the end. I put a little bit of pressure here, and I just slide this up. If you don't have the strength to do that, then what you can do is you can take your toenail clipper and you can just kind of pinch away the edge just like this, and you're going to notice that it rolls right off. What we're going to do is put a new band on the end. And again, if you don't have the strength to push it all the way down, if there's a little bit of space, make sure the mandrel is all the way down inside the handpiece. That way when you turn it over and push it down, you're going to be able to slide it all the way down to the very, very bottom. Okay, so before we actually get into doing any prep, what I like to do is I want to go ahead and replicate like I'm doing this for real. So we want to be able to push back customers' cuticles. And then you're going to notice on my electric file when I'm doing prep work, I'm going to start off at 3,000 RPMs, right? So I'm right-handed. As you can see, I'm working in forward. If you're a lefty, you want to work in reverse. There is your on and off right there. You can see by just pushing down, right? It's going to fire this up, okay? At a very, very low RPM, what you're going to be able to do is tickle away the shine. So I like to, again, just lightly work in one direction. So I'm working in one direction. And what I mean by one direction, sorry about that. I'm gonna grab my marker so that you guys can see, but like if this is the actual nail right here, right? So if I'm working around, I like to work in one direction this way, right? So you can see the arrows coming around. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work diagonally from this point to this point by working in one direction all the way through from corner to corner. Okay? So how I do that is by going around the cuticle, lightly tickle, 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 all the way around. And then I use a light feathering motion. You can see how I'm using, like you can see my hand in this position. I'm kind of in a writing stance, right? My hand, the hand piece is resting in the crease of my hand. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to feather away the shine. So all you beginners out there that are taking up the art of nails, notice that my hand also is in an overgrip position. I'm not in a position like this, excuse me, where I'm gripping the finger like this. It puts a lot of pressure here, right? And this can cramp up. So if you have this like really, really tough and you're holding your client, right, with a Darth Vader death grip, then what ends up happening is you're going to have a lot of pressure right here. You can release a lot of that tension by coming over the top. And then you're going to notice that this is going to allow you to feather away the shine, right? So I'm moving in this direction, but if I have to get around here, I'm not going like this or like this. I'm just kind of tickling it. You can use the base of your barrel to move in one direction here on this side. Okay, so once you remove shine from the surface, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to use swipe. And swipe is going to allow us to come in and cleanse the surface just like this. This is going to basically clean all the dust, oils, contaminants from the surface. You could also take a dry wipe, right? You can push on the top of the bottle and you could scrub the surface just like this. The trial Synergy kit does not have any forms. The trial kit just has samples of the product. You'd have to get the pro kit to get everything. Okay, so once we are done, you're going to take Protein Bond, and then what I'm going to do is use a gentle coat from cuticle to free edge. I'm almost out of Protein Bond in this bottle. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all 10 fingers, then come through, and again, once I'm done doing all 10 fingers, I'm going to come through and I'm going to apply one more coat. You're going to do 2 coats. Okay, so this is prepped, ready to go, ready to rock and roll. The first step to your success is basically understanding how to pick up gel. So let's go with base, because this is the first product that you're going to use when you are applying. So I'm going to show you guys what I set up with. I set up with a tile. You can get this at any hardware store for nothing. And it's nice because it's smooth. You can kind of clean the surface, right? Probably pay less than $1 for that tile. What I use this for is really to clean my brush. You can see I have a little bit of glitter on there. So if I do have a little bit of glitter in there, what I can do is I could use a wipe to kind of pull. I push down onto the surface of this, and I could use this to kind of remove any buildup or anything that's inside the brush. But what I use the tile for is preventing myself from actually picking up this every single time to clean my brush. If I picked up too much product, right, and then like I have a little bit of excess on my brush, what I could do is I could just pull it, as you can see, onto the tile, and it just kind of pulls away all that excess. It's a great piece of equipment to have at your station when you're working with gel. In California, they require, if you're working in a salon, that you don't work straight out of your jars. So if you're working, obviously with a tile, what you can do is you can get a painting knife. You can get this on Amazon. This is what you're going to use to mix color, but what you can do is you can literally scoop out a healthy amount. And again, if you're not allowed to work out of your jar, then this is a great basically tool to work with, so that you don't have to worry about scooping it into a second container. This is going to be really, really fast and easy to clean. Okay, so here's the thing. When you are applying base, whether if you're working with a self-leveling product, you have to remember that when you pick this up, right? If I pick this up, you're going to have like a tail. So what I usually do is when I literally pull through and I have that tail, what I'll do is I'll use a kind of a tapping motion. It is the same when you're working out of a jar as well. Obviously, for those of you guys that work in states where you don't have those issues, if you're coming straight inside a jar, the side of the jar here, as you can see all the product, a lot of beginners, what they do is they try to like sit there and try to bounce it off, right? They're like, they pick up way too much and they're sitting there trying to shake it off. And all that keeps doing is it's like honey. It keeps on dripping down the side of the brush. If you pull through and then you tap it off the side of the jar, you're going to see that you're going to be able to break it off on one side. If you're working off of a tile and you literally pick it up, is if you shake it off the surface, you're going to be able to do the same exact thing. Okay, so it's a matter of, again, understanding how to break the tail. As you can see, this is going to help you with any type of self-leveling gels that you guys are working with. This is base gel. So I have to establish a foundation. And in order for me to build a solid structure, we have to set up the foundation so that we don't have lifting, we don't have any type of separation from the natural nail. I always like comparing it to building a house. If you're building a house, you can't build a house on a weak foundation or it's going to crumble. It's the same thing with gel. You want to be able to establish a really, really strong foundation so that whatever you build on the surface, it's going to hold up really, really, really well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up, again, a really, really small amount. I'm going to kind of tap it off. You can see that I have it on one side of my brush, just like this. You're going to notice that when I set this base down, right, I kind of set this down and I pull through. It kind of looks like a tooth, right? You could see kind of like a horseshoe, how I've kind of split it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come inside the horseshoe and I'm just going to kind of move that bead from side to side. Right, you can see how I've moved it from side to side. Notice also my hands while I'm working. So this is one thing that I'll keep stressing to all the beginners out there is when I am holding my client's hand, I'm also in a position, as you can see, where my gel brush is resting in the crease of my hand, but this is giving me an opportunity to balance. So balance without shaking. If I was holding the brush way out here like this, then what ends up happening is I have a tendency to shake, right? Because I don't have any stability. If I hold my hands up to a point like this, and again, it could be your pinky, your middle finger, your ring finger, then what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to balance so that you can brush without shaking at all. So I want to be able to apply a nice even amount of base. I don't set it at the back and pull forward. I'm always coming from the inside so that you can see I'm pillow. You see that little pillow? I'm going to get really, 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 really tight, right? So you can see how I'm right here, right? You see that little bit of a pillow? See that pillow right there? So once I can get that really, really close to the cuticle, then I can brush through. The pillow is going to help, but you're going to be able to achieve that pillow by staying on the inside. You can see the edge right here if I'm not too close. I'm not going to come over the top. I want to come from the inside, then kind of slide my brush down to try to get it as close to the edge as I possibly can, okay? So that's what you want to be able to do when you guys are applying your base gel. Now, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to get this inside the light, okay? So what I like to do is I'm going to set it in for 60. It has an automatic sensor, so if the client goes inside the light, you don't have to worry about doing one finger at a time. What you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to get it on all 5 fingers, and then you're going to be able to go inside the light. Okay, so while this is curing, you're going to be working on the other hand. Okay, so 5 fingers, however long it takes you to do all 5 fingers, then you're going to rotate again. If you have the luxury of being able to get 2 lights, it's nice because the client's going to be able to go into one, right, while you're curing, and then you're going to rotate as you work. Okay, so when you're doing your base, you're going to be able to accomplish doing all 5 fingers at once. Once you're done doing all 5 fingers, the first thing I do before I move on to the hand is first I want to see whether the gel has pulled away or slid, right? Sometimes as a beginner, you might think, okay, I'm going to start with the thumb first and then work to the pinky. I don't want you guys to do that. I want you to start from the pinky and work to the thumb. Sometimes if you apply way too much product on the thumb, what ends up happening is the gel will slide down to the skin before you get to the last finger. If you start from the pinky and work all the way to the thumb, you're going to have less chances of those problems. Okay, so I'm giving a 60-second cure all the way through. The gel has completely cured. It's tacky, right? Like if I touch it, it's tacky. I do not want to wipe it. Okay, that is really, really important. Now my brush right here has a little bit of gel-based residue. I'm going to use the tile and I'm just going to pull onto a really, really clean surface. Okay, if you're working from your jar, then again, I'm going to be working from concealer pink. I want to be able to show you guys this consistency. Look at that. If I just set the jar down, it's not going to move. It has a very, very slow self-leveling nature. In order for you to be able to pick up this, you can't just pull straight down. You almost have to kind of shovel it out. So how that works is by me taking my brush, kind of getting a flat end by smoothing out the surface. And then what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to come in and I want to be able to, as you can see, kind of shovel it out. I turn my brush over. You can see how it's on one side of my brush. I have that tail. I'm going to shake the tail off, right? I'm going to break it off the end. Okay, now, if you get it onto your jar, just make sure that you take a little bit of swipe and just kind of clean it up so that you don't have gel on the threads of your jar. Okay, so all the beginners out there that are learning gel, you have to understand that it is completely different than working acrylic. When you are working acrylic, every artist or beginner has a tendency to do this. If you're taking, I'm showing you guys with an acrylic brush. You pick up your acrylic, you set it down. It's almost like you press, and then you're like literally kind of guiding it from the surface, allowing it to flow. But then as soon as it starts to set, you're pressing and you're pulling. You're pressing and you're pulling. With gel, you're using a floating motion. For those of you guys that master gel before you go to acrylic, it's incredible how your touch ends up becoming so much better with acrylic once you master gel application, because you have to have such a light touch with gel. All right, so how do you master application? You have to be able to crush the overlay aspect of it. And all of our students on day one, this is what they practice all day long. So if I set my product down to the cuticle area, right? Let's just do this for a sec. I'm going to keep this connection. I'm going to move this off to the side, just like this, okay? So that you guys can see. Okay, I'm giving you guys a side profile. So you guys can see that connection that I have right here, right? So you're going to notice, if I need to get it close to this side, I'm going to get in front of it, and I'm just kind of like guiding it. Notice how I'm guiding it on the surface. If I need to get it close, I'm kind of pillowing it. Pillow, so pressing down soft, and then I'm going to work onto the other side, keeping contact with the surface. Okay, boom, all the way to the end. So once I'm done finishing my cuticle area, how do I get the product from this point to this point in the least amount of effort? Well, you're going to notice by lightly floating on the surface, keeping contact with the gel all the way down. So I could swing down, keep contact, start bringing it forward. Swing back the other way, right? You can see this. Keep contact with the surface. Swing all the way. If I do not have enough product, I can go back. I could lightly pull through the surface, tap off the excess, reconnect, and then what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to use the tip of my brush. You can see how my hands are in the position. I'm lightly guiding it down. I'm swinging across the nail. bring it down, swinging across the nail, bringing it down, swinging across the nail, all the way down to the very, very bottom, right? In order for me to achieve this level of overlay. This is really important because this is going to give you a lot of control. This is going to teach you control, especially if you're trying to get product from this point to this point. Okay, Greg, what about the upper arch? Okay, don't worry about the upper arch yet. The main focus for this lesson is how to control the product and how to get it from this point to this point in the least amount of effort. Now, if you struggle with this, one of the things that I would love for you to be able to do, and I'll show you guys because a lot of my students struggle with this from day one, is if you're picking up, again, not enough product, okay? Well, you can break it down into two types of applications. Or if you have a client that's really, really sensitive to like a heat spike. So what you can do is you could do this. You can kind of split it down the middle, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So bird's eye view. If I take my gel and I literally do the same exact thing, I always like to work around the cuticle. You can see I'm going in circles. So if I'm going this way towards my right, I'm working over the top. I'm not going underneath, I'm going over the top, right? Over the top. Same thing on the other side, over the top to be able to get this. Once I have finished that cuticle area, I obviously don't have enough product, so I'm going back inside my jar. I'll show you what you can do. I'm going to reconnect, and then what I can do is I could literally just kind of brush through the middle, and then the excess that I have here, you can see I'm keeping contact. I can bring all that down on this side. I could do the same thing here. I'm keeping contact with the surface. And what I'm doing is I'm bringing it all the way down to make sure that my side walls are absolutely even, okay? So you can see how I've literally filled the cuticle area as well as the side walls with a lot of product. Now, if I decided that I wanted to freeze this into shape, one thing is certain, there isn't a huge amount of gel in the middle, which again, if you have clients that are sensitive to heat, you're not going to get that really, really painful sting because the gel cures so fast. One of the things you can do is you can go like this. So you can actually, there is a low heat right there. You can see the low heat mode. You can push that button. You can get the product inside the light. Another technique to freezing, just put the hands up. Another technique to freezing is this. So if I was to put, again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to scoop out a really, really thick amount of gel with my left hand, right? I'm going to go ahead and get this down. I'm just going to kind of float. So I'm keeping contact with the surface, right? Working across, down, working across, all right? I have very little balance with my left hand, okay? But again, let's say you're able to just get a nice overlay over the surface. I'm going to show you guys a trick to how to freeze the product so that you don't have that real intense heat spike. So if I push my light, and then what I can do is I can keep you can see the distance that I have. I'm keeping my hand outside the light, right? So in order for you to understand that thermal reaction, you have to put it on yourself. This is really, really important because if you just go directly inside the light, I can promise you your customer is going to do like it's going to trip out, okay? Because it's so hot. Again, if you keep your hand outside the light, right, for probably like 30 or 40 seconds before you go inside, then your customer is not going to feel anything at all. Okay, so now again, I'm working with the pink inside the jar. The reason why you get a thermal reaction is because gel cures so fast. It's not like acrylic. You do get somewhat of a thermal reaction from acrylic. It gets warm, but depends on the size of the bead that you're working with. With gels, especially if you're working from the pots, you definitely are going to run into a situation where the customers are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's that hot. So you have to be able to freeze the product. Now look, I haven't cured this. I want to be able to show you guys this. I haven't cured it. So, because nothing has, you see that? Where I put it has stayed, right? You can see as I continue to move it all the way through. I haven't overwhelmed the whole entire surface with a massive amount of gel. Normally when I feel a lot of the heat, it's dead center. So if you were able to build a nail where it had thin application through the surface, then you set this. What you're going to be able to do is after you're done setting this, you're going to be able to come through, right? So let's say that we go ahead and set this real fast, and then I'll show you guys how you can go ahead and apply the product over the surface to fill that space. Okay, so here's the thing. The new technology that Young Nails came up with last spring was this. So this is basically concealer pink in a tube. I worked really, really hard with my chemist to create basically something that doesn't give off that type of thermal reaction. The tube gels are insane, and it makes life a lot easier because you don't have to worry about actually picking it up, setting it down out of a jar. Let me show you. Okay, so this is set, right? I don't need to cure it for the full 60. We're just freezing the product into shape, and you can see if I actually had to come through, right, and fill that space. One of the things that I'm going to be able to do, let me just go ahead and get a nice bead, right? So I have another bead. So I'm not going to start from the back. I'm going to start literally from the middle, right? The area that I need it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work a really, really nice amount. Again, keeping contact on the surface all the way through. Notice I'm working front to back, keeping contact side to side, front to back. I'm floating. I'm literally floating on the surface. And then I can just kind of brush the edges to make sure that they blend in really, really well so that I don't touch that side. But then you can see from the side profile how I'm actually able to build the upper arch and fill in the space that I need. That's what you're going to do when it actually comes in to that type of application. Okay, so I'm not going to cure this out. I'm going to use my next finger. I'm going to use my next finger to show you guys how we are to do it if we were going to apply it with the tubes. So this is prepped and ready to go. The only thing I have to do is apply some base gel, and we're going to get into using the tubes so that you have a much easier way of applying. Today we're just focusing on picking it up and setting it down. Tomorrow I'll actually get into how to build it out, how to build the free edges like you do acrylic, how to file it into shape, do all that wonderful stuff. Okay, so what we have to do, again, I have a little bit of, as you can see, I have a little bit of concealer pink on my brush. I could just kind of pull it off, right? I could just kind of pull that off. Still have a little bit of black paint on there, which is perfect from the design work. I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of base. I'm going to kind of tap that off. I'm going to go ahead and brush it. You can see how I split it. And then what I'm going to end up doing, I got a Furby. Let's go ahead and get that Furby off. Furby is a little piece of lint that actually got on my brush. I'm going to go ahead and work it. Notice how I'm working it on the inside. If I have too much, I'm just going to kind of brush it off. And I'm working it from side to side to make sure that I have a really, really nice, even application from cuticle to free edge. Okay? Let's go ahead and set that inside the light. Again, I like to set the base gel. I like to set the base gel 460. Once you put the base gel on, it's not like you have to worry about setting it for 60. Just get it inside the light while you apply the other hand. As soon as you're done applying the other hand, rotate. Do you clean the brush the same way you use acrylic? No, I don't use acetone. How I clean my brush is I use swipe. So it's literally a matter of taking, again, a lint-free wipe, and then what I'm doing is literally folding it in between, and I'm just pulling out the excess just like this, and this is how you're going to clean your gel brush. That's how you do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the tubes. Okay, so the difference with the tubes is that you don't have to worry about scooping it out of a jar. I'm literally going to take this off, and then you're going to notice what is the difference between base coat and base gel. Base coat is used for gel polish. If it's a gel base coat, it's used for gel polish. Base gel is used to secure hard gel onto an enhancement that you're going to actually build. Okay, so what you're going to notice is that I'm actually able to squeeze out the right amount, and that I can continue to do that. So I'm just basically squeezing it from side to side, and then I can continue to squeeze the product and do the same thing. As the product basically comes out, I'm squeezing it down and through, making sure that I have a nice even application, keeping contact, doing the same thing like I'm doing my brush all the way through, all the way to the very, very end, right? To the very, very end. Now I do use my brush. A little bit of a bubble right there. Let's go ahead and get that out. So I usually use my brush to come in and then just do like detailing. If I have to take my brush and I have to come in and use it to get it close to the sides, you can see on that point, there's no way I'm going to be able to use the end of the tube, so that I could just basically use my brush to just touch the surface to try to get it as clean to the edges as I possibly can. It's way faster. It honestly is way easier. And the best part about doing it with the tube is I could literally take, as you can see here on light, I'm going to go ahead and push low heat mode. And then my client is going to go directly inside the light. I don't have to worry about keeping it outside. When we designed these gels, it was one thing that we wanted to make sure was to design something that was going to create a slow thermal reaction, initially, and then that way, when it cured all the way out, you're not going to have that really, really intense heat. All right. So that is basically how you guys apply both. The concealer pink, I worked out of the tub, the jar, the concealer pink out of the tube. That is how you guys are going to be able to squeeze it out. For you guys to be able to master gel application, you have to practice the basics, and the basics is the overlay. You have to be able, in order for you to, build strength in your hand muscles, it's a matter of practicing floating, getting it down from this point to this point. How do you remove Synergy gels? You have to file them off. You do not soak hard gels off. The good news is they file like butter. So, again, no smell, awesome. But when they do file, you have a lot of dust. We have a new dust extractor. Why does the white precision applicator not always cure all the way through? Okay, so when you're doing white, you cannot just put it directly on the form. What you have to do is you have to build a clear free edge. You have to take the form off. Then you have to build your white onto a clear tip, a clear extension that you built out. And then when you stick it inside the light, the gel will not only cure from the top, it'll cure all the way to the bottom. If you want a complete odorless system, gel is the way to go. I I want to end it by saying that it's really inspiring what our community is doing, coming together for the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm absolutely just taken back with a lot of emotion. A lot of my friends have reached out to me, and you know, it's a process. I'm learning and I'm listening, and I'm going to continue to do that because I feel that in order for us to make change, it is really important to us to do that on a regular basis. Continue to learn, continue to listen with an open heart, and I just see such a beautiful future ahead of us. I love you guys, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the work, spreading the love, and listening and learning. I love you guys. Peace.